At the time, it wasn't what I wanted, because when I started painting, I just wanted to paint only. And I wasn't thinking about a career in art. And again, I don't think she ever asked us, what do you think of this or what do you think of that? It was like creating for the sake of creating, which is the best thing ever.
And was art your first choice of career from the early days? Because
really.
And why 3? Pretty much.
There are a lot of 3s, yeah, I know. I don't know why, honestly. There's no.
Welcome back to the season 2 of Chase Those Dreams. Today, we're diving into the vibrant world of art with our special guest, Rabab Tantawy. Born in 1971 in Cairo, Rabab grew up surrounded by creativity, watching her mother draw and create. Although she didn't start with an artistic career, Rabab's passion for the arts never waned. Self-taught in various techniques, from traditional oil painting to modern spray painting, she brings a playful yet profound approach to her work. Join us as we explore Rabab Tantawy's artistic journey, her inspirations, and her unique process. Get ready to be inspired by her story and her incredible dedication to the arts. Stay tuned, and let's chase those dreams together.
Hi, Rabab.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to have you here.
First of all, I think it'll be fair for me to say thank you for letting me use this beautiful space for the season 2 of the podcast, because I think it's a dream pretty much for artists to have a space like this. So for me, coming here doing my season 2 is just taking this to the next level. So thank you so much.
I'm glad you're here. Studio 13 for me is a dream come true. So as much as I can to have people come in and enjoy the space as much as I do. That's the goal, really.
Yes. And I think it'll be only fair now to start from the beginning, because I know I have heard from you that, art came to you as a little girl when you saw your mom.
I think I did not think I wanted to do art. I've always wanted to do something completely different. But what influenced me really to start my art journey was the fact that I saw my mother create. And I saw her create in a kind of a free way, a very, it was such a sense of freedom that she has while creating. And not once she called herself an artist or exhibited. So I don't come from, she's not, to me, she isn't the true artist, a real artist.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not in the conventional way, she has not exhibited, she has not sold anything. But I think having 5 kids in the house, and obviously in the old days, is it's like she did everything by herself.
Yeah.
And at some point, she even had a job. So it was just seeing her create. Sometimes you see things and without someone explaining what is being done, you get really a feeling about what that feeling gives her.
Yes.
Which I felt like it was almost sort of where she found relief, or where she found, a little bit of peace, or where she found something that she did for herself.
Yeah, it was more like an outlet, I think, where she was
Correct.
just...
Yeah. And again, I don't think she ever asked us, what do you think of this or what do you think of that? It was creating for the sake of creating, which is the best thing ever. Yeah. And which is what I try to do now, is just to create because this is part of me or of who I am.
Yeah.
So that was really my early influence there. I think it was really ingrained in me as a child.
And was art your first choice of career from the early days? Because
really.
So, always there is a story behind artist or a creative person of how they became what they were. So what's your story? What was something that you did and that converted into an artist?
So I actually was always fascinated with hotels. And I had a relative that used to work in hotels, and he always used to take us. And I was born and raised in Egypt. So hotels were very sort of glamorous for me. And the fact that he was meeting new people every day, that was really exciting for me. So I actually wanted all along to study hotel management. So I went to hotel school in Egypt. and I worked in hotels for 16 years.
Wow.
So I had a full-on
Career.
full-on hotel career in Egypt, and then even when I moved here to Dubai, I've been here 22 years. And when I moved here, I started working for a hotel chain as well. And I worked like for a full-on like 8 years here before starting even to paint.
Wow.
So it almost like, sometimes I tell people it feels like it's my second life, like, you know, like a past life and this is a new one, because it's completely different. But it has an element of also creativity and an element of fun and an element of anything but routine, because like I'm not I don't really thrive on routine at all. So that was part, like the excitement of everything, something new, and you know, that was for me very excited.
And you know, after so many years of deciding that maybe hotel was something that you chose as a career, what switched and you decide you wanted to now become an artist, and that to become a full-time artist?
So basically, it was a couple of things. One is that I had 3 kids, and my third child was born, and I was like feeling that corporate life was not really like doing it for me anymore. I needed to spend more time as my kids were growing. And when they started wanting to go to dance lesson or gymnastics or this and that, I felt like I wasn't giving them like I wasn't being there for them. So that was like one of the main reasons that I left my corporate job. But the other really main thing is that my mother passed away, and I had a really strong, you know, we had a really strong bond. And one of the things that I always knew she loved and enjoyed, I felt like I wanted to do that. Like when I quit my job and I started like having more free time for myself, kids in school, you know, I just wanted to start painting. That was like the thing. And you know, sometimes when you know, I've heard this from a lot of people who did something that they were not doing before, is that sometimes it's something that like almost like nagging, is like, you should
On your
paint, you
conscious.
should paint, you should paint. And you're like sort of, I'm not a painter, I'm not a, like, you know, like, what are you talking, like you just have that sort of self-talk. And at some point you have to acknowledge that this idea is not leaving you alone, and you have to do something about it. So that's what happened also. It was like almost like a nagging thing that you should paint, you should try and paint, you should. So I started painting here with a group of artists who it was like very unconventional. It wasn't like your typical art course, or you just go in and maybe learn how to you know, paint like the typical tablecloth and pitcher and fruit basket and stuff like that, which is not the wrong way, but at the time it wasn't what I wanted. Because when I started painting, I just wanted to paint only, and I wasn't thinking about a career in art. Like, not in a million years I thought when I started that I'd be in my own studio or doing projects that I have done, or even selling paintings. So that was not it was not the aim when I started.
This influence of your art pretty much feels like you started off saying your mom was a very free artist. She didn't have a specific style. And I think that legacy is pretty much continuing through, you know, how you started art. So how did you figure out that you had a particular style to your art?
So I think this is like one of the big questions that a lot of also artists face, like because finding your own style or finding your own way of painting is really, it's not an easy thing. But I feel like it comes to you the more you put work in what you're doing. Like it will, like that's even anytime I'm asked about this, because I have a very distinctive, like, you know, like look of, even though they changed a lot my figures, but you can always tell that this is something that this is Rabab who did this. So I always get asked the question is like, how do you do that? Like, when do you do that, or how does it come? And basically what I did is I tried a lot of styles. I wasn't sure which one. Like I would look at artists, and I would research, and I would look on the internet and see things, and I would at the time I had like a mentor, sort of instructor, who basically would tell me, just get the stuff that you like look at the things you like, and let's sit and talk about it and see what is it that you like about it, which is always like an advice to anyone who's trying to do this, is like sit and dissect what is it about this piece, or what is it, like you went to a gallery or you went to a museum and you saw something and you couldn't take your eyes off of it. Just sit with it and figure out what is there that really grabbed me. What is it? Is it the colors? Is it the lines? Is it like some people, it's more the details? Like what is it that got you? And pursue that. Like it's almost like, some breadcrumbs along the way, and you have to take each and every one to reach. So it's a journey. The problem now is a lot of people feel like, everything is so fast-paced, and there's a sense of, instant gratification. Is that people don't give themselves the time or the patience to really discover what they want to do, or what brings them joy. And there's a lot also that we're exposed to. Maybe I was a bit lucky that I didn't have that much exposure like to the social media that we have now. Like even when I look now, I'm like, if I was a starting artist, I would find it really, really distracting.
The pressure wasn't there on you to like achieve things quickly at that level because somebody else on social media is doing.
There was nothing to achieve.
Yeah.
There was really, for me, there was really nothing to achieve, like, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because like I was a bit aimless, but by being aimless, it allowed me to, first of all, be patient with myself. Not like I'm not preparing for an exhibition, or I have a commission that I have to, deliver, or any of that. Like I was really taking my time in just making things or creating, or, So I think this is one of the things that artists nowadays find really hard, because there's a lot of distraction. There's an overwhelming amount of art that we're exposed to on everywhere, which is like sometimes if you don't know what to do, you would like follow all of these, and then you find yourself nowhere.
An artist deciding what your style is in the beginning helps you to, I think, get better, or maybe have like a certain identity, because now we know Rabab when we see an art. Like I have now known you for a few months, but now I've started noticing your art in places around Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and you're like, okay, this is Rabab, I want to take a picture. How did this begin? Because this figure pretty much, how did it come to you? Because I remember having a little bit of discussion where you said, when you start doing your art, you don't know how this is going to go, because it's pretty much you go with the way you feel. So how did this figure, pretty much iconic, I could say, how did it,
Thank you for calling
start?
it iconic. I think it's, again, back to what is it that really intrigued me, or what is it that excited me when I looked at other people's work, or like famous artists or art that I just admired. And it was always the human figure. It was always, it was always human figures. And it was just finding a way. So at the beginning, I would just paint them in a very traditional way that was almost like a copy of how someone else would. And this is also another way of learning. Like as a new artist, I copied a lot. Like I copied a lot of art with the aim of learning the technique. So basically I would see something that has texture and I want to achieve that texture. So I would like try and basically being self-taught is like you just keep trying until you figure it out, or you figure out how it's done. In my case, I also had help of my mentor and instructor at the time. And then I, like, it just was more by experimenting, and I went back to my roots, and I went back to where I come from. For me, it's more the Nubian culture and this turban on the head. Like, I think I wanted something that takes me back home. And I wanted something that felt also like home. So I would start painting Nubian figures as I saw them, as I lived them in Egypt, as I interacted with them. So, and then they kept on changing. So my very first ones were wearing white, the white dress, the typical white dress and white turban. And funny enough, because I was here and people would see them, they would look at them and they would say, oh, these are local Emirati.
Kanduras.
And I was just like, yet they wear the same thing, but actually they're Nubians, they're from my home, they're from the south of Egypt. And then instead of correcting people, I started asking them, at some point I started asking them, okay, what do you see? Like, what do you see? And that's when I realized that literally every culture or every, there's the turban or the head cover
Yes.
is almost, is existent in almost every culture.
Exactly.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Especially from the region, from the Middle East, from Africa, it's there everywhere. Like there is a turban, and that kind of like it opened my mind. Is like, okay, this is all of us. It's not only, so it started as home as the Nubian, but it's also opened my eyes. Is like, okay, maybe I'm started painting them like that, but right now they're a symbol for humanity, for others, for connection, for family, that we're all one, that we all have that connection between us. We all want the same thing.
Because every time you look at it, you feel that there is, a story behind each. And now listening to how the turban bit and all of that began, it makes more sense of, why does the figure pretty much look like that? And why three? Like pretty much
there are a lot of threes. Yeah, I know. I don't know why. Honestly, there's no real
three
aim.
kids, because
maybe it's 3 kids, but it's not. So I paint very intuitively. Like, so I don't. Again, like back to the fact that I don't follow routine and I'm not very good at rules and stuff. So I became they became very like part of the movement of my hand and how I draw them. So all of my paintings basically are not planned ahead, and I start by just drawing them.
Yeah.
And then I basically take a step back and just get to know them, sort of, especially when they became more abstract now. There is like similar to this, like you would see like this is all in one stroke.
Yeah.
So it's not, I didn't like paint, draw one and then I started drawing the other. It's like literally one line. It's a one line that went through and created all these 3 figures. And then I sort of take a step back and try and invent a story about them, sort of. So I don't know, these are like maybe these 2 are really like very well connected, and this one is a bit upset.
It
He's
feels
looking
like closer. They're very cozy.
The other side. So there is something happening here. Like this one is not very happy with what's happening there, or like there is some kind of relationship happening, either good or bad, or they're like all maybe huddling and hugging each other, but they're all connected. They all have like that one line that connects them. And this also helped other people look at them and tell me, like you came to see us in Sikka, and that was always now the question when I painted there, the piece I painted, it was just 2 figures, and I was asking people, okay, what do you see? And a lot of people was like, yeah, I see like 2 men, or a man and a woman, or a woman and a child. And so it's very interesting and very interactive, and allows also, like I feel like the best art out there is what allows you to interact with it.
Yeah, it gives you an imagination of your own and maybe like an artist, when you get 10 different people telling you 10 different things about the same art.
Correct.
That is pretty much, I think, a very satisfying thing as an artist.
It is, and it's also very like inspiring, because like for example, one lady came and said, this is the word luck in I think it was in Chinese, like the one I did before. So she could read
Wow.
the letters in Mandarin in a way that spelled luck, and then she wrote it for me and put it next to it, and I took a
No
photo
way.
of it, and she said, this is how we write luck.
And you didn't know this while you were actually...
No, I didn't know. So it was stuff like that. So people actually, you're seeing your artwork in someone else's eyes, like with someone else's eyes. So it gives it even more meaning. It gives it even like more ideas to you for your next one. So I couldn't help but the following time I was like, okay, let me look up some Mandarin and see how the word love is written, and then maybe I can,
like an inspiration, right? It inspired.
Yeah. And it feeds off, like someone will come and tell you, wow, I see this as this thing, for example. And it just makes you start thinking, like, again, like this one, for example, I personally started seeing an Arabic word that's law. It's lam wow.
Okay.
And basically it's this one, like up there.
The one on the top.
Yeah, and it's repeated in all the white parts. And law means if.
Okay.
And you know how you keep saying, if this happened, I would have, if this. And again, in Arabic, we have like a funny saying that says, لو حرف شعلقة في الجو, which means like, if the word if is like, if is just as if it makes you hanging in the wind.
Okay.
Because there's nothing happening if you keep saying if, like if
you're not moving forward.
No, it's just you're sitting wondering if this or if that. You're not like in the present of, okay, this is not like, So I started like putting this word in, and I started noticing that just the movement is there.
Yeah.
Like it's like almost a repetitive.
Yeah.
So you just keep exploring and you go with it. And again, this is the beauty of feeling free to express. Because I really, when I do something like this, or when I experiment with something I saw, or it's not to please the viewer, or I'm not creating this so someone says, oh, I like this, I want to buy. Like it's amazing when it happens.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we all want our artwork to sell, and we all want appreciation.
Yeah.
But if this is why you're doing it, it's not the right reason. It's not the right, motivation.
True, I
behind
agree.
it.
Something that I've always wanted to ask you since I've met you, because I've seen different styles of your work, and you're pretty much like a street artist. You also can fit into a gallery where you could do something very exotic and things like that. So what is your favorite? Is Rabab the street artist, or is Rabab an artist in a gallery doing something very delicate?
So I'm not a street artist. First of all, street artists are way, way like better than what I do. I would call myself more of a muralist, or like it's something that I really started late in life, and I started it because my community pushed me into it. It's like they literally put a can of spray in my hands, and I was watching them do it, and I was like, felt very intimidated to try it because they do it so effortlessly, and and I was like, wow, I could never do this. And it's again part of like what I believe in, the power of community and the power of collaboration is pushing you to do things that maybe you're not ready to do or you wouldn't have done. I love creating on walls. I love, and as you see, like since I started, now I can't go anything small. Like now you see only huge size canvases. Like you will not see anything, small, because again, spray gets you to like really create on a large scale, and there is again a freedom behind this, and it's also very addictive. And it's so I would say, because I started this late, and because I didn't think I could do it, and I surprised myself by doing it and doing it well and getting paid to do it, and getting commissions like on a big scale, like the Yas Island building, for example. Like I'm like, it excites me to get a wall and paint on a wall. Like, it's very exciting. Having said that, like, my love is canvas, painting. Like, there's no one. Each one of them has its own appeal to me.
Yeah.
The fact that I can even sit at home and like sketch something on a small piece of paper, that it's available to me anywhere. Like, this is the best part. Like, so gallery or studio or wall, or it's all like fun and exciting for me.
Yeah. So I think this would be like a perfect time to talk about one of your closest projects, I think, if I could say, which is Studio 13.
Yeah.
After being an artist, now comes a phase where you're like, I need a space not just for me, but for a lot of other people. So how did Studio 13 come together?
Yeah. Just to be also like very honest about it, I was just thinking about a place for me. Like, I was really thinking I needed a space, I needed a studio space, I needed to be able to work on large scale work, I needed a place where I can make a mess. And while searching, I kept on meeting a lot of artists who also had the same need, like people who also were like, yeah, I can't find a studio anywhere. Like, there's no studios, it's very limited studio spaces. So I started the search. Like, I felt also empowered to look for space, because I knew it was not only me looking, but there's like a bunch of other people. And every time I would ask, they would say, okay, if you find the place, please tell us. Like, please tell us, let us know. And so I started like just looking for spaces, and I found this warehouse. It was right off of COVID, so it was in March of 2021. And it was like literally the minute I walked in. I had seen a lot of other places, but the minute I walked in, this like felt it straight away felt like home. Like, it straight away felt like this is the place. You know how they tell you this is the place? Like, this was the place. And then I got in touch with a lot of like the people that told me, if you find a space, and I had two artists join me first in starting Studio 13. And then we basically, now 3 years on, the studio has had over 18 artists come and go.
Wow.
Use the space.
Wow.
It has really brought in a lot of like artists have different needs. So someone might have just a project for 1 month that they just want to work on, and they don't have space for it. Other artists wanted a space so that when a client comes in and want to show, they can show their work there. Artists have different needs, but this sort of met a lot of artists like really needs, whether it was like a temporary thing. And we've had artists who have been here from day one, like Fink. Like, he's just been here. He's been here from day one. He's not leaving. I don't think we'd allow him to leave. So we've like really created a nice group of artists, and at the beginning, I didn't think like it would have such an impact. Like, for me, I was just looking for a place to work.
Yeah.
But by being in a studio with other artists, I bit by bit discovered way more benefits than I thought ever exists. Like, the fact that we all inspire each other. We all are very different, like have very different styles, but yet there is like an underlying sort of connection between us that allows us to like, what are you doing? Or like that kind of interaction.
Yeah.
And we have a running joke is like, very soon we're all going to be painting the exact same thing. But we also, what I wanted to do is I wanted to open up the studio for the community. So we started having roundtable discussions.
Yeah.
And we started inviting the local artist community in to come in and talk about important topics that we all thought we needed to know more about, or even just to discuss between us.
Yeah.
because this was lacking. Like,
Yeah.
I think this was one of the things that was lacking. There was more of a mentality of competition rather than collaboration.
Yeah.
And by bringing the community together, like, I had the help of a few more artists who were willing to work on the round tables with me.
Yeah.
And together we did, I think we did 10 round tables in
Wow.
all. We would open the studio once a month, and people would come, we would sit, we talk. We met a lot of new artists. Every artist who comes here next time brings 2 more artists with
Yeah.
him, or 2 more friends,
Yeah.
like similar to you.
Yeah.
Like, you just come in and you bring Yana and
Yeah.
you bring someone.
Yeah.
And there is a, this is what I love about Studio 13.
Yeah.
There's like sort of a home feeling that people tend to come back to.
And is there a reason it is Studio 13? Like, what's the story behind the name?
It's the most uncreative thing ever, because it was just Warehouse 13.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So it is, it's warehouse number 13.
Yeah.
So I just, like, instead of calling it Warehouse 13, which had been like the easiest thing,
Yeah.
I just called it, like, I was a tiny bit creative, and I was like, okay, let's call it Studio 13.
But have you noticed you have this 3 pretty much prominent in a lot of things? I'm just now noticing.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like
3
the
and
3 kids, the 3
13.
figures, the 3, like, I'm just now thinking
Yeah.
about how these.
I don't know.
It's
I don't think too much about this.
It's unconsciously, like, somehow, all.
Yeah.
Also,
It's not on purpose.
not on purpose, exactly. I think that's the beauty of it. Like,
Yeah.
while I'm talking to you, you're like, oh, I didn't think that. Now it's like. And also, one thing I've noticed about you is every time I talk to you about something, it's always not about like you. You're like, how can I do this so that it's easier for somebody else? How can I do this if I can get some other artist to be, it's always about a community that you have wanted to have, and what's the love with, making sure that you always have this community around you of artists,
I think because for a good 10 years of the start of my art career and what I've done, I didn't have that. And I know that I would have progressed 10 times faster if I had this type of community starting. So I had to find out where to buy my material, where to get canvas. And we're talking about like 12, 13 years ago, where like Dubai just has changed tremendously in those past 10 years, let alone, the art, like even on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
Like, so you can imagine, like, everything was really hard to find. Like, it was really hard to find material. If I wanted a specific size canvas and wanted to get it, like the small
Yeah.
things that you need as like just to start, it wasn't easy. And like, for example, if I'm creating prints and I want to know where do I print, or
Yeah.
what paper to use, or, so community is very important for that. And it helps you, like, if you've done something and it didn't go well, you can save me
Yeah.
by saying, hey, don't go there. This is not a good place, or
Yeah.
that's not how to do it.
Yeah.
This is how to do it.
Yeah.
So for me, this is the reason why community is so important, because I didn't have it. It could have saved me a lot of time and a lot of experience.
Yeah.
But I did get the experience by, everything, like they say, happened for a reason. I
Yeah.
did get the experience by making mistakes and going through things that I shouldn't have gone, or, or even getting attracted to certain opportunities that are not the right opportunities. Like, I made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
And the aim is to save other people who maybe are just starting or mid career. They're not sure of like what to do with this, and basically help them with how to do it. And that's also one of the things that the roundtables does.
Yeah.
So, for example, on one of the roundtables, we discussed contracts.
Yeah.
And IP rights.
Yeah.
And how to, like, protect your work from being taken or copied somewhere.
Yeah.
Or, and so it's like real practical things, not skill based.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not going to show you how to use charcoal to do this, for example, which I can.
Yeah.
But I'm more talking about like practical topics for you to develop your career and
Yes.
And become an artist like that runs an sort of an art business. Like, I don't like to use that word, but it is a reality. It's like you're going to do your own accounting, you're going to do your own selling, your own social media, your own legal contracts when you're dealing with a client. So there are topics that are very important for us that you wouldn't get unless you go pay for it. And also half of the time you go pay and you actually don't get the information you're looking for. So roundtables are free. We don't collect money from we don't sell tickets or anything. It's just basically we sit and talk about that topic. We bring a speaker who's an expert. Who would tell us, actually give us what to. So everybody leaves with
some information. Yes, because I think in this region, mostly people are expats coming from all over the world, and they don't know what the local regulations are, who to go to, what to go to. And when you have people who are based here for a longer term and they're welcoming you to say, okay, what do you want to know? We'll give you the information. That is the beauty of, having a community like this, wherein people just share all the information they have. And like you said, make sure that they don't repeat the mistakes that you did and save all of that time,
You get to know other artists. You develop a network of artists. Like, many times I get, for example, a project that doesn't really match my style or doesn't match my skill level or whatever. And I was like, okay, no, for example, if I get something that is calligraphy based, for example, or so I would say, oh, hold on, I know who can do this for you. And that's very valuable. Or I'm actually in a project right now, I cannot actually leave this project and do this. Would anyone like to pitch for this project? So it also creates a sense of trust.
Yes.
And a sense of, community and collaboration. Is like, I want you to succeed. Like, I want you to do well. And again, I always say there's enough opportunities for everyone. Like, sometimes people really hold on to something, even if they can't do it, they would not give it to you. And that is
perfect time to congratulate you for the next step, which is the exciting one.
Very exciting.
So do you want to give us a little bit of more?
So I'll just give you a hint.
Yes.
+1, which is Warehouse 14. So Warehouse 14 became available, and we have been full in Studio 13 for a while. Like, we really, everybody who's here doesn't want to leave, and we don't want them to leave. So when Warehouse 14 became available, we decided to, I partnered with Rania, who's an artist here as well in our studio, who's been one of also the oldest members of Studio 13. And we're starting +1. So 13, instead of saying 14, now it's going to be still the 3 is
Love
there.
the naming of everything that happens so naturally and beautiful.
Yeah. So it, honestly, it was an opportunity we couldn't really say no to. Because it allows us to expand. There's always artists looking for space. And so we're planning to launch +1 in September. Summer is a bit, and also it will give us time to properly set it up. But we want to have a bigger community. Studio 13 currently has 6 artists only, or 6 studios only. So now we'll open our door to more artists, and the idea is to have sort of a creative co-working space, specifically for creatives. So again, highlighting community, providing opportunities.
I think it's more about watch this space.
Watch this
space. There's something, because after seeing the space now, my mind is just imagining the possibilities, what could be. And I know that it's going to be amazing. So I'm excited as well to see what's going to come from that. And also for Rabab as an artist, as a community builder, bringing artists together, What is the future for Rabab from here? What do you want the region to achieve? Because for as a creative, there's always like not a legacy, but something that you want to better
Yeah.
and make it easier for the next generation.
I think honestly, like we're living in a time now, especially in the region, where art is really being focused on, and it's not like the focus is more and more on artists and creativity. There's a lot of opportunities just within the region, which was not the case before. You really had to go out and find opportunities. Right now, like literally every day there's an open call of some sort. There is clients who call like it is buzzing, like there is a lot that's happening, and there is a lot of support as well that comes with it. But I believe like we need to be prepared, like you need to be ready. Like if you're not ready now, you're missing out. And I think this is the purpose of like the next phase, I guess. Like I'm not very good at planning much ahead. I right now, right here is +1 Studio 13, being able to like again build that community, have people cater to what they need. There's a need for spaces to work, so we'll provide that. There's a need for community to come together, we provide that. There's also a need like for workshop spaces. You want to hold a workshop, you need a space that's not going to take half of what you're making. It's also I would say it's by creatives for creatives. So we know what we're missing. We know what is not working. And I think that's the best way of making it work, because like I've had places where I wanted to go hold a workshop that wanted to take 50% of what I was making, and it didn't make sense, and the effort was not back to the like what I. So these are the things that we want to provide, maybe not on a huge scale, but we'll still provide something that we can provide, like like it's not massive, but it's gonna cater to someone. Like someone will need what we'll offer.
You're just like fixing the gaps that there is in as much as ways you can, rather than not do anything about it, which is amazing, because that's the first step, right? And that's when you then get bigger and you grow bigger with whatever that you can do, which is just amazing. And I think for me it is so special because the season 2 starting with a new
We're happy
space,
to have you
and
in season
it's
2.
with you. It is nothing as exciting for me, and it feels like things are just moving in the right direction, because the year is pretty much, I think, for creatives, and I only know that the things for you ahead is just brilliant. I feel it.
Thank you.
Because that's what you deserve, and that's what you have worked for all this while.
There is fear, but there's always fear. There's always the doubt, and it's important to understand that there will always be fear. There will always be doubt. You just have to like do it anyway. And yeah, I hope. I know things are like like we have the right intention, we have the right purpose, we also have the right place for it. So yeah, I'm excited.
And before I let you go, maybe one last question. If I ask you, if there is a young kid who is dreaming to be an artist, what would you say to that artist at that young age to?
For me, it's always action. Like action leads to everything else. Like if you're sitting wondering like where I start, and taking time to not start actually, but wondering, okay, I need to maybe I'm not ready, so I need to, for example, a lot of artists are blocked because they always think they still have to learn something, or they need this material, or I don't have this. It's all things that stop you from actually starting. And I believe the best thing you could do is take action. And you only learn by taking action, and you only progress by taking action. So I would say just start, like literally just start where you are, start with what you have at the moment. Again, I've known many, and I've been there myself before. I always put myself down by saying, I'm not ready for this. I need to maybe apply for this course, or learn this, or watch more YouTube content about this subject, or buy this brush because it's this brush that's going to let me do this. All of these are things that sort of delay you from starting.
Yeah.
And that's actually the biggest advice I give for anyone, whether old, just starting something, or in the middle, or haven't even thought about it. Just literally start. And again, the breadcrumbs thing is it's just one thing at a time, and it will lead you somewhere. It might not lead you to where you thought you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Like for me, for example, I never thought that we're gonna be sitting in my studio, or that, let alone having another studio. Like that was not, but it was just steps along the way that you take one at a time.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect advice to hear, as
It is. I think it's good advice. I think it's very good advice. Start. Don't wait.
Very true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rabab, for
Thank you,
making
Kenneth.
the
That
time
was
today
awesome.
to talk
Thank you.
and share your journey.
Thank
We
you
were
so much.
happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to having you use the space and make more awesome podcasts.
I am excited.
And have more artists tell their stories, because it's important also to put a spotlight on each artist's journey.
Yes.
So excited about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken.